world was outraged by the choice of the lead.
Rachel Zegler has been described as a walking PR disaster.
Her name is Rachel Zegler, an American actress and singer of Colombian and Polish descent.
I'm a narcissist.
The general public did not know of her, has not heard her speak, sing, breathe, just pictures. The world was outraged because they did not think she was pretty. Let's get real. They thought she was ugly.
No dramatic exit, no farewell post, just silence. One day she was the centerpiece of Evita, Broadway's latest revival of a legendary show. The next, Rachel Zegler disappeared completely.
Rachel Zegler is the prime example of how you should never think that you're bigger than the project.
No rehearsals, no press appearances. Her name gone from cast lists, her face erased from promotion. And if you're wondering how someone so hyped, so praised, so loudly celebrated could fall off the stage without a single word, you're not alone.
The partner in crime and one of the most entitled.
Yes, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
I'm a narcissist.
Man-hating.
She's not gonna be safe for the prince.
Nasty. The last part, her words. Who single-handedly actually annoyed everyone so bad they skipped this mess. Well played.
Because here's the thing, Rachel Zegler didn't just leave the show. She was pushed, and not quietly, not respectfully. What went down inside that theater was a full-on rebellion. Cast members taking notes, crew members dodging shifts, directors caught in the crossfire. The kind of meltdown that doesn't end in headlines. It ends in total erasure, silent, surgical.
Rachel, what's it like to be in a movie with Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu?
It's great. Okay? It's great. I'm honored. I don't know why I sound so angry right now. I'm honored. Am I a psychopath? No, I've been getting a lot of questions about how do I feel? I feel amazing. We start kind of soon and I'm just like,
The role of Eva Perón was supposed to be her comeback, her reinvention, a chance to step away from the controversial Snow White girl narrative and claim her spot as a serious, respected actress. But instead, it became her undoing, and what happened behind the curtain reveals a version of Rachel Zegler the public has only suspected until now.
it is the real beginning of my life as a young lady of America. Of America.
So how did one of Hollywood's most promising young stars go from front and center to forcibly removed? Why did an entire Broadway cast risk everything just to get rid of her? And why, after weeks of chaos, is no one, not her team, not the production, not even Rachel herself, saying a word? Because sometimes the quietest exits are the loudest scandals.
Well, Rachel was desperate to play Eva Perón. You know, it was her idea, and we saw an audition tape, and she was absolutely sensational. You know, she worked with our musical supervisor in New York on the material. Her versions of the songs were terrific.
When Rachel Zegler was cast as Eva Perón in Evita, it wasn't just big, it was symbolic. For years, she'd been battling a public image war, praised for her raw talent, yet constantly criticized for her interviews, her outspoken nature, her attitude. She was a rising star who somehow never quite stayed in the public's good graces.
Like, I'm the first to admit when I saw her interviews, I hated her. I was like, ew, how snide. Ugh, how condescending. And then I was like, well, wait, she's acting it up. They told her to do that. You can't tell me this young woman was cast in such an iconic role and went, thanks, I hate it. No, let's use our brains. We have been pushing girl boss, girl boss, girl boss, strong women, strong, strong, strong. We've been pushing that for so long. They tell her to give us that and we on her. I don't know, I just feel like that's so me.
So this role, it was her redemption arc. Gone were the Disney filters and podcast slip-ups. This was theater. Gritty, demanding, real. It wasn't about social media likes anymore. It was about presence, discipline, and performance. The announcement came with fireworks. Theater critics called her casting bold and inspired. Fan accounts blew up with excitement. Even Evita's official promotional channels leaned in hard, calling Rachel the modern voice Eva Perón never had. Rachel herself leaned into the narrative hard. hard. She tweeted cryptic song lyrics from Don't Cry For Me Argentina, posted rehearsal selfies with captions like Becoming Her, gave interviews about how this role was personal and transformative. She wasn't just acting, she was stepping into history. Producers rolled out the red carpet. Publicists had a field day. And for a moment, it worked. She had successfully pivoted away from the noise. People weren't talking about Snow White anymore. They were talking about her range, her presence, her Broadway debut. But in theater, hype doesn't last. And once the rehearsal doors closed, a different version of Rachel started to emerge.
Why is she starring in the West End version of Evita? I don't understand it. Is what I would say if I had no taste. Rachel Zegler, oh my god. When are you guys gonna see how much of a powerhouse she is? I love Rachel Zegler so much. I just want to let you guys know that I will be sat front and center to see this icon slay Evita. Oh my god, I can't wait. I am gonna see it when it first opens. I already know that. I can't wait to see this diva. Oh my god.
At first, it was just whispers. Whispers that Rachel was late to rehearsal, that she clashed with vocal coaches, that she didn't take notes. Nothing confirmed, just murmurs. But in the world of theater, murmurs travel fast. Then came the rewrites. According to insiders, Rachel allegedly began pushing to rework entire scenes, claiming Evita needed to feel less like a musical, more like a movement. She wanted to transform Eva Perón into a symbol of modern woman power, re-choreograph her entrances, reinterpret her vocals, rewrite, essentially, the legacy.
I can't believe it. I very much had no interest in seeing Rachel Zegler in any movies heading into this. And watching this made me forget that I really don't like her as an actress.
All is forgiven with the Snow White controversy. Maybe I'm going to show up for it. I thought she was fantastic.
She was really funny.
Some called it visionary, others called it delusional. And the team, they didn't know what to do, because you don't say no to the lead actress with a Disney contract and 1 million followers, especially when producers have built the whole show around her name. But tension was building, slowly, quietly. Reports say she'd shut down suggestions mid-session, that she'd rehearse half-heartedly or take over choreography meetings entirely. One vocal coach allegedly described her as impossible to direct without triggering a meltdown. A crew member said she refused to make eye contact with people she considered beneath her role. Still, the show pressed on. Publicly, everything looked polished. Behind the curtain, it was chaos.
So much ground that I never thought I would be able to cover, and that people think I'm doing poorly, and other people think I'm doing gracefully, and I don't think I'm doing it at all. So, when I tell you that it's hard, I just mean to be inside my brain. That's hard.
And it all came to a head one afternoon during a full cast run-through of A New Argentina. A minor blocking change was proposed. Nothing serious, just a shift in positioning. Rachel reportedly paused, stared at the director, then yelled, "I'm not doing this circus anymore," and walked off. The room silent. No yelling, no chasing her down, just stunned actors and an exhausted crew staring at an empty spotlight. And that's when it happened. Someone finally whispered out loud what everyone had been thinking for weeks. She's gotta go. That one sentence would flip the entire production upside down. At first, it was just eye rolls. Then came the side comments. Then the quiet whispers backstage. But by week 3, things at Evita had gone from tense to unbearable. Rachel wasn't just clashing with directors. She was reportedly dismissing crew, ignoring choreographers, and turning every rehearsal into her own one-woman show. According to multiple insiders, it stopped being about Eva Perón. It started being about Rachel Zegler, her vision, her voice, her spotlight. That's when the cast decided they'd had enough. And what they did next wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, strategic, and absolutely devastating. Actors started keeping notes, not mental ones, written logs. Every meltdown, every passive-aggressive outburst, every time she refused direction, documented. Some even started recording discrete audio and video snippets of rehearsals, just in case things escalated. Spoiler, they did. Stagehands reported reportedly began rotating shifts to avoid working during her call times. One assistant choreographer allegedly called Rachel the most exhausting performer I've ever worked with. Even wardrobe wasn't safe. According to a leak, she demanded her costumes be reworked 5 separate times, claiming they didn't reflect Eva's power arc. She wanted less sparkle, more grit, more power suits, less glam. It wasn't about character anymore. It was about brand messaging. And the vibe backstage, it turned icy. People were terrified to give her notes. Even small corrections would get you a public stare down or, worse, called out in front of the entire cast. One rehearsal reportedly ended with her telling a co-star, "You're diluting the message. You're making Eva weak." It was no longer a collaboration. It was a war zone. But the real breaking point came during one specific rehearsal. It was a full run-through of A New Argentina, one of the show's most powerful ensemble numbers. Tensions were already high. Rachel wasn't happy with the staging, the lighting, or the note she'd been given that morning. Mid-song, in front of the full cast and crew, she stopped. "I'm not doing this circus anymore." She threw up her hands and walked out. Nobody followed. Nobody said a word. And when the silence finally broke, it wasn't the director who spoke. It wasn't a producer. It was someone in the ensemble. Someone who'd been there for years, who simply said, "She's gotta go." And just like that, the entire cast, exhausted, overworked, and pushed to their limits, began planning the quiet rebellion that would bring Rachel Zegler's Broadway run to an unceremonious end. It didn't start with drama. It started with a letter. After the walkout, a small group from the cast, lead ensemble members, featured actors, even a veteran vocal coach, drafted a written complaint. It wasn't emotional. It was clinical, detailed, savage. It included dates, quotes, incidents. One line reportedly read, "Rehearsals have become unsafe, unproductive, and entirely centered around one person's emotional instability." Nearly half the cast signed it. When they asked for a private meeting with the director, they were denied. So they went higher, directly to producers. What followed was an emergency meeting that theater insiders now describe as one of the most tense showdowns in recent Broadway memory. Calm voices, no shouting, but every word felt like a loaded weapon. The message? "We will not share the stage with Rachel Zegler." This wasn't a complaint. It wasn't a request. It was an ultimatum. According to sources, one producer, visibly shocked, asked, "You're asking us to fire the lead?" To which a cast member reportedly replied, "No, we're telling you we won't keep working if you don't." And just like that, the power dynamic flipped. Because this wasn't just about one difficult star anymore. This was about an entire cast, an entire crew, ready to walk. And that meant the show, the entire production, was on the edge of collapse. Producers scrambled. Meetings ran late into the night. Phone calls were made to Rachel's PR team, her agents, even outside conflict mediators. One idea floated: split the role in half. Rotate Rachel with a second lead to ease tension. The cast rejected it instantly. Someone even suggested delaying the premiere. The reply? Delay it until she's gone. Eventually, a decision was made. Not publicly, but behind the scenes. Rachel Zegler was quietly suspended. Not fired, not announced, just removed from rehearsals. Her name was erased from call sheets. A stand-in began blocking her scenes. Music was rekeyed for someone new. Rehearsals kept going without her. But if you were watching closely, you could tell the production had entered crisis mode. Producers didn't say it out loud, but the message was clear. Rachel Zegler was no longer the star of Evita, and this wasn't a graceful exit. It was a total erasure. For a while, everything stayed eerily quiet. No press release, no official statement. Rachel didn't address her absence. The producers didn't either. To the public eye, Evita was still moving forward. The show's social channels posted vague promos with no faces, no behind-the-scenes footage, no name drops. But silence doesn't last long in the world of TikTok. It started as a trickle, a whisper on a theater gossip account, a short video claiming Rachel Zegler had been quietly benched, a few insiders commenting anonymously. Then a blurry photo surfaced, a rehearsal shot without Rachel, a different actress center stage. And then it happened. TikTok blew up. A viral video titled, "Did Rachel Zegler just get fired from Evita?" hit over 2 million views in 24 hours. Theater fans, former stans, and drama channels piled in. Comments ranged from stunned to savage. They said, "Don't cry for me," and meant it. Theater won't miss her. Honestly, I'd pay more to see literally anyone else in that role. Twitter, or rather X, lit up next. Hashtags like Roger Zegler out, Idra Evita drama, and Idra justice for the cast started trending. People demanded answers, but no one from the production team gave any. Rachel, who used to post near-daily rehearsal updates, went completely dark. Not a single story, not a single like, just gone. Meanwhile, old content resurfaced. Interview clips, shady tweets, a now infamous photo of Rachel wearing a crown with the caption, "They'll hate me for this too." That image was reposted hundreds of times. One comment nailed the vibe, "We do. Congrats." And then came the fan page shift. Once loyal supporters started posting side-by-side edits comparing the rumored new lead to Rachel. She's everything Rachel thinks she is. This is what Eva Perón deserves. Even Evita's own social media accounts suddenly went generic. No more Rachel-specific content, no retweets of fan praise, just neutral copy-paste captions and production stills with no cast mentioned. To fans watching closely, it looked like a full PR scrub. But if Rachel thought staying quiet would make the story go away, she was wrong. Because what happened next didn't just confirm the rumors, it exposed everything. By the time the dust settled, one thing was undeniable. Rachel Zegler was gone. Not taking a break, not temporarily unavailable. Gone. Insiders claimed she hadn't been seen at rehearsals for over 2 weeks. Her dressing room cleared out. Her name allegedly wiped from internal cast lists and replaced in the official program with someone new. No press tour, no damage control, no goodbye post. And theater people, they knew what that meant. Because in Broadway, silence isn't normal. It's strategic. When there's no send-off, no explanation, it means someone wasn't invited back. Backstage sources began leaking more details. Rachel's replacement was an understudy who had been quietly preparing for weeks. She stepped into rehearsals like she was born for it. Knew the lines, hit the notes, listened, adapted, didn't yell at the lighting team. Within days, morale shifted. The difference is night and day. One cast member allegedly said, "We finally feel like a company again." Rehearsals picked up speed. Creative sessions ran smoother. Tech crews stopped swapping shifts. Everyone started breathing again. And while no one dared say it publicly, the message backstage was clear. This is how the show was always meant to feel. And still, Rachel said nothing. No Instagram stories, no tweets, no cryptic poetry captions. Nothing from her team either. Not even the classic PR fallback. Taking time for herself. Just absence. And in theater, that absence speaks volumes. Because this wasn't a scheduling conflict. This wasn't creative differences. This was a cast revolt, followed by a quiet erasure. And now, the production had officially moved on with someone new. Someone the team actually wanted to work with. But the final nail in the coffin? A leaked program listing the cast. Next to Eva Perón's name was a different woman. No fanfare, no spotlight, just a clean replacement. Rachel's name didn't appear anywhere. And that's how Broadway handles its breakups. No theatrics, no tabloid headlines, just a slow fade to black. Quiet, permanent, savage. By now, even Rachel's most loyal fans were starting to wonder, where is she? No red carpet appearances, no interviews, no new roles announced, no singing videos, no clickbait tweets, nothing. Just a digital ghost. And in a world where silence used to mean strategy, now it just means you're benched. Insiders say Rachel's team went into full lockdown. No statements, no leaks, no anonymous PR blurbs spinning the drama into a creative hiatus. The kind of silence that doesn't feel temporary, it feels calculated. Because here's the cold truth. Nobody rushed in to defend her. Not the producers, not her co-stars, not her reps, not even the usual PR warriors who swoop in during celebrity meltdowns to drop soft-focus interviews and image repair fluff pieces. Even gossip outlets weren't trying to save her. They just moved on. Because in theater, especially Broadway, reputation is everything. Word travels fast, attitude isn't tolerated, and arrogance doesn't get you far unless it's backed by humility. Rachel had the chance to show growth. She had the platform, the talent, the spotlight. And what did she do with it? She turned a legacy role into a one-woman protest. She tried to rewrite a show that didn't need rewriting. She made herself the story, and then walked off when the story didn't go her way. Theater isn't Hollywood. You can't PR spin your way out of bad vibes. You can't charm your way back in once the crew says you're the problem. When you're cast as the villain in your own production, it sticks. And no one's forgetting what she did anytime soon. Backstage sources now describe Rachel's time on Evita as a black cloud, something the cast still references when a rehearsal day goes wrong. And the new lead? She's not just tolerated, she's loved. Directors call her disciplined. The cast says she listens. And fans who've seen early previews, they're calling her everything Rachel wasn't. One reviewer who attended a closed dress rehearsal reportedly said, "You could feel the relief in the room, and that says it all." The show survived. The cast bounced back. And Rachel, she faded from the stage without ever saying goodbye. For Rachel Zegler, the role of Eva Perón wasn't just a job, it was a shot at redemption. She had the chance to to silence critics, to reclaim her image, to prove that she was more than viral sound bites and divisive interviews, to go from red carpet controversy to Broadway royalty. But the stage doesn't care about headlines. It doesn't care about followers or fan edits. It only cares about what you bring into the room, your discipline, your energy, your respect for the story. And that's where Rachel lost the plot, because despite her voice, her talent, and the mountain of hype behind her, she brought chaos. She brought ego. She brought drama the cast never asked for. And eventually, they said enough. This wasn't just a firing. This was a rejection by her cast, by her crew, by the very people who were counting on her to succeed. Theaters are sacred spaces, built on trust, chemistry, and timing. And when someone walks in thinking they're bigger than the show, they don't get a second act. And maybe that's the most haunting part of all, the silence. Rachel didn't post a farewell, didn't acknowledge her replacement, didn't even thank the cast or the fans. She just disappeared. No apology, no reflection, no growth. Just another disappearing act, wrapped in vague tweets, canceled interviews, and a growing pile of unanswered questions. The spotlight moved on. The stage moved on. And unless something radically changes, Rachel Zegler, she's not coming back. Because, in the end, it wasn't her voice that ruined Evita. It was her silence when it mattered most. If you want more savage breakdowns, behind-the-scenes scandals, and career collapses Hollywood refuses to talk about, you already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell so you don't miss the next saga. And remember, sometimes the story ends before the curtain even rises. Because for Rachel Zegler, Evita wasn't just a role lost. It was a legacy erased.